when you look at Michigan, you look at Cade McNamara and the way that that Michigan team is built, they're built very similarly to Georgia.
Yep.
So it's not going to be a high scoring affair. You know, it's going to be ball possession and which defense is going to inflict pain on the other offense. That's how this game, it's going to be a very old school type of game, you know, where the quarterbacks are, if you don't have JT Daniels in right state, Stetson Bennett, Cade McNamara, they're like right here. They're like right here. So you're looking at, okay, how are we going to do when it comes to a James Cook, when it comes to those type of running backs in the backfield against Hassan Haskins and cover, right? The run game is going to be at a premium in this game. And then you got bullying defense. Aiden Hutchinson is the one that's going to be there in New York as one of the 4 finalists for the Heisman. And then you have Jordan Davis, right? You have the marquees on each side of the ball. So it's going to be interesting to see how you match up. But like you said, it would be interesting if you do install JT Daniels, that means you're forward looking, right?
No question.
You're forward looking to the championship game and you want to get him some reps under his belt. Or if you're saying, listen, we got to get through this game to get through it if Stetson Bennett's the starter. So that's going to be a big thing to watch. I'm glad you brought that up because I think that's going to be very key.
Well, Max, here's the deal, too. I think there was a lot of talk during the game, during the SEC championship game, of like, well, should Kirby Smart come out of halftime and go to JT Daniels? I want to be loud and clear. I ain't here with all that. When you commit to a dude and he's playing a game, and if he's – I don't care if he's dug a hole at halftime, he deserves a chance to come out in that second half and lead whatever kind of push you can make down the stretch to win that ball game. I'm not with – I know the Tua thing worked out when Saban benched Jalen Hurts and put Tua in and Tua. I know that worked out, and that was beautiful, right? But I ain't here with it. I didn't like the decision when that happened. I know everybody else did because of the results, but I'm looking at it. I didn't like it. I didn't like a player losing his job in that particular instance with and instead of getting the opportunity to bail his team out, he was benched and somebody else had the opportunity to bail his team out. And again, I'm just not here for it personally, right? So I'm glad that Kirby Smart did not go to Stetson Bennett at that point at halftime of the SEC championship game. I think that's wrong in terms of the players. However, now that we've all sat back and we've evaluated the film, I think it's a no-brainer. You cannot win a championship with that low ceiling offense. You cannot win a championship with a quarterback that can't consistently strike effortlessly down the field. You cannot win a championship with a quarterback that's average athlete at best that can move around and versus 10 of the 12 opponents during the year can go get first downs. Like that ain't gonna get it done in the college football playoffs. And so right now, if I'm Kirby Smart, I'm going to JT Daniels. I'm doing everything I can to make sure my boy Pickens is healthy. And we're going to see if we can't raise the ceiling a bit and create a little bit of a higher ceiling offense for these college football playoffs. I think it's a fascinating question or a fascinating discussion to have and a wait here to see what Kirby Smart decides to do, Max. I think it's a no-brainer, but I'm sure he's sitting there having to talk to these kids every day. Probably a little tougher decision in Athens.
Yeah, no, he's definitely got there. And he's got a little brown water in his cup as he makes his decision, looking at the sheets. But I think it is important, because like you said, I'm in agreement with you too. I don't like, mid-game transfers. Yeah. You've got 3 weeks here to come up with the best game plan you can against the Michigan team that you saw just absolutely walk the dog on Iowa. Yeah. Iowa got treated how you got treated in your championship game, and you're trying to prevent that. So, like you said, having 3 weeks, making sure that you have a rock solid game plan. You learned a lot. Hopefully you learned a lot in this loss. You learn more in your losses than you do your victories, because you kind of wipe things under the rug and sweep it like, don't have to worry about that. Look, we got this dub, this shiny dub chain. We're good. Now you've taken the loss. Now you got to start from your wounds. You got to learn. And like you said, it's going to be pressure. Pressure is at a premium. You must establish that. Get back to your roots. It's not going to be 4-man pressures that are going to win this game. And then, like you said, how do we change the narrative on the offense? Yes, when you look at the final stats of what Stetson Bennett, you say, not bad, right? 340, over 50% completions. They got 2 interceptions though. But then you look across, the other guy's a Heisman favorite, and you're like, okay, this dude threw for 420 yards on our defense that has been allowing over 150 yards pretty much all year.
Yeah.
So you need to rewrite that. And
Max,
people are looking at your secondary.
Max, the thing is when, and I don't want to beat the dead horse of these two quarterbacks. Look, it's clear JT Daniels is the better quarterback here. But Stetson Bennett is a guy that from a game plan perspective, we're not talking about a slight difference where coaches go, it really doesn't matter who starts, man. They both have their own advantages. They both have their own strengths that are different. But I mean, no, these are like the defensive game plan for whoever Georgia's playing is totally different if Stetson Bennett's a quarterback, right? I mean, in my opinion, you can track down and clamp down your coverage because of the lack of arm strength, the lack of ability to drive the football down the field, right? You can spy a defender to keep him in the pocket. I mean, there's a lot of different things that you can do versus Stetson Bennett that you just, that you just can't do if JT Daniels is the quarterback. So we'll see what they do there. Look, here's what I know is if Georgia goes into this Michigan ball game as is, man, look, this is George Foreman, Larry Holmes in their early 50s. I mean, this is two greats, big bodies, just leaning on each other, slapping around until the bell rings and somebody ends up winning that ball game. So I hope it's JT Daniels because then Georgia has a little bit of advantage in the strikeability department. But we'll see what happens. I hope it's not George Foreman, Larry Holmes in their early 50s. I hope not.
Yeah. You hope it's more rumble in the jungle, right?
That's right.
Yeah.